Welcome to Bob's Radio Cafeteria. You can find me facebook.com/Bob's Radio Cafeteria. And my guest today is the one and only Kelle Rhoads. Kelle, are you there?
I'm here.
Yay! So good to talk to you.
It's great to be on Bob's Cafeteria.
Thank you so much, Kelle. Now, before we start, where can people find you, on the web or wherever?
They can find me on my Facebook.
Yep.
And they can also find me through the Facebook that we provide for our school, Musonia School of Music.
Yes, and you guys have been Musonia has been around how long now?
Our 67th year.
Wow.
The construction was begun in 1947, finished in 48, and in 48 we started accepting students.
So cool. And if you want to see a great tour of the school, go to YouTube and put in Bay Area Rocks, and Kelle gives us an amazing tour. Now, you've got some exciting news coming up. You've got a new album coming out. Tell us about that.
A brand new record that's due to come out in the middle of March. That being said, a lot of times when you announce when a record is coming out, it doesn't always drop at that date. Something is left undone, has to be taken care of. In this case, the whole record is recorded. It's called Magnificent Obsession.
Love it.
And as soon as the artwork is completed, which is probably going to be towards the middle of February, it will be released, and I'm looking at like a March 15th release.
Oh, the Ides of March. I like it.
Right, Ides of March. You know about that.
Yes, absolutely.
So I have that kind of in mind. Of course, if it isn't completely ready, it'll come out when it's ready. But that's what the anticipated date is at this time.
Now, where'd you get the title from? I love it.
The title is actually from a movie, and there's been a lot of records made that have taken their name from movies, and even names of bands like Black Sabbath. That was a movie.
Boris Karloff, yes.
Stairway to Heaven was the name of a movie, but Magnificent Obsession fits so well with the music and with the artwork that we're using that even though for a while I tried to think, let me get another couple of names to make sure that I'm really choosing the right one, and it kept going back to Magnificent Obsession, and that's how I came to choose that name.
Who's doing the artwork?
My wife does my artwork.
Oh, awesome.
Veronica. She does the artwork. She does the artwork. She did the artwork on the others too.
Oh, and so she did on Pride and Profanity, all those. She did. Now
she didn't paint the house and the piano. That was done by an artist named Stone Malone.
Wow. And
she just integrated that into the artwork. And then if you open up the wallet, the thing that is the cover, but it's also like, 3 other panels, there's a piece of art, an artwork for each piece of music, and she did all those.
Wow, that's so great job, Veronica. That's awesome.
So we like to keep it in the family. It's a little bit more organic that way.
Yep.
And she's great with computers, and she's been around me long enough to kind of get who I am musically. So it really is a good thing all the way around.
How long have you two been married?
We've been together 20 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. 20 years. Married for 18 of those 20.
Wow, what's the secret? Any secrets for people out there listening?
Find somebody that you're compatible with.
Now, speaking of compatibility, I don't know how I'm linking this in. I'm going to try really hard here. But you play 3 instruments. You play piano, you sing, and you play drums. One of the things I wanted to ask you, do you ever sit behind a drum kit anymore, or is that just not something you do anymore?
I actually did a whole concert playing drums, which is something I haven't done for years.
Oh, wow.
And that was December 6th. And I played with a group called the Mad Men, which is a group that Brian Tichy puts together, and it does an acoustic version, like with acoustic guitars, of the material from the 2 Ozzy records. And
I've seen a picture of that. Yes.
Yeah, and I ended up playing drums on the whole thing. I did the whole concert. But what I did, because it's acoustic, is I played the drums, actually a bass drum and a snare drum, but I played them with brushes instead of sticks.
Nice. It's almost kind of jazz-like almost.
Yes. And it worked out really, really good. But I don't usually play percussion unless I'm playing it on one of my records. Now, the record that's due to come out, Magnificent Obsession, I play percussion on 2 pieces.
Oh, cool.
2 pieces has percussion. Not
just
a drum
percussion,
set.
not drums, just percussion.
Yeah, not a drum set. But like in one of them, it's a bass drum and a tambourine, and in another case, it's these big, huge, like end-of-the-world war drums, oversized drums.
Wow.
And that's for a piece called Dark Harvest, and it fits in really good with what the violin and the piano are doing. It
Who's
goes
playing
into
violin?
a middle part.
Who's playing
Armand.
violin on the album? Who?
Armand. I don't play violin, but I have a really good violin player. I don't play guitar either, and I outsource that as well. My producer/engineer plays a really cool old slide guitar on one of the pieces as well. But the violin player is my buddy Armand.
Is he a classical? Is he a classical
at first he was
too?
At first he was just going to do the outro of 2 pieces.
Right.
But I liked the way he sounded so well that I ended up using him on 4 pieces.
Oh, nice. That's a nice compliment to his playing. I can't wait to hear it.
He's really, really good.
Now
so I met him and started jamming with him a little bit. Then that led to rehearsing, and then that led to him actually being on the record. He's a valuable addition. So he really helps the flavor of the whole record, as you'll see when you get the record. I
can't wait. And as I was saying, you're a classical junkie, and you really believe in classical music as a form that people need to keep hold, which is, without classical, we wouldn't have a lot of music that we have today. Now, one of the obvious questions I want to ask you is, who are some of your all-time favorite classical composers?
Well, before I answer that, let me just say that I have a little bit unorthodox way of being inspired to do music. I don't actually listen to other classical players to gain my inspiration. How I get that is to go to art galleries and to look at paintings, and that's how I get inspired. And that's probably why my stuff is so original, because I'm not drawing my inspiration from any particular artist or a set of artists. I enjoy listening, and I'm motivated and inspired by classical music, but the inspiration to write music comes from looking at artwork or just things in the world that I see.
Wow.
Now, to answer your question, who do I dig? Who do I really listen to? Well, I listen to classical composers of all the eras. If you go back to, like, Baroque, I like Bach, of course. I like Vivaldi. I like Telemann. If you move into, like, the Romantic period, which is my favorite period, obviously the first 2 on the list is Frédéric Chopin and Franz Liszt. Also, I really like Schumann. A little bit down the line from them, I really like Brahms, and I like Wagner. And towards, like, the latter part of the century, we're talking about the 19th century right now, I love the operas of Puccini, Donizetti, and Verdi.
Wow.
And that takes it up to, like around the turn of the century into 1900, And I guess you could say that my biggest satisfaction comes from listening to Debussy and Eric Satie and Maurice Ravel.
Wow. And those are the guys, I mean, like you said, you get inspiration from looking at art or just whatever your environment is. But if you were to listen to classical, those are the guys you're going to start with.
I might not have explained it real well. Those are the guys that I would listen to for enjoyment, but I wouldn't necessarily listen to like Mozart or Beethoven, and I think I might have even left those two out. Of course, I listen to them, especially Beethoven.
Of course.
I would listen to them for enjoyment, or if the wife has something on the TV I don't like, I just put the headphones on, and she's listening to the soundtrack, and I'm listening to Beethoven.
That's so awesome.
I do that a lot.
Now, have you ever come up with a song by doing something like that? You're listening, say Veronica's watching a TV show, and you're like, okay, I'm not into this. You put on your headphones, and all of a sudden, with the music playing and the visual, do you go, and all of a sudden you go run to your keyboard? Has that ever happened?
Well, first of all, it's not likely because the keyboards, they're all down here at the school. I have a couple of real distinct practices that I do that work for me. And one is I don't doodle too much. I don't have a keyboard at home that I doodle on, while I'm watching TV or like when I'm waiting for the laundry to be ready. Yeah. I don't do that. What I do at home is I strictly listen to playbacks. Then when I get down here to the school, I've got grand pianos, I've got electronic pianos, and based on what I hear on the playbacks, I come down here and I work on the pieces. Then I take that home and study the playbacks. Oh, wow. So when I come here, this is like the laboratory. This is where the music is created and assembled. Home is like the proving ground. That's where I listen to it and decide what I'm going to keep and what I'm not going to keep. And incidentally, I keep less than 2% of what I compose.
You keep less than 2%?
Less than 2%. So that's why it takes me 2, 3, even 4 years to make a record, because you got to narrow all that down to something that you want to keep, and then you've got to figure out the orchestration, and you've got to figure out what other instruments belong on it. And I've used different combinations of instruments in addition to the piano. The piano is the main thing. I like to consider myself a composer of music for the pianoforte. But I also incorporate other ingredients to make the song what it is when you hear it.
Right. And like you said, your music is unique, but if you want to find it like at Amoeba in Hollywood, look under the classical.
Got to go to the classical section, look under R, find Rhoads, and you'll see my CDs. Another thing, if the people that are catching this on the Internet, there is another way. If they live back east or if they live in the Midwest, they can also send, and I'll repeat this later, they can also send me a check or a money order. They can send cash at their own risk. I don't like really advise that, but they can send me a money order, and all they have to do is give me $10, $30 for the whole set, and they send it to Musonia School of Music, 12111 Tierra Street, Valley Village, 91607. And I'll repeat that a little later. I'll repeat that.
And you can look it up. You can Google it too, but we'll definitely. Right.
And there is information on the Internet that does say the same thing if they want to order from here. And once I receive their money, I send it out the next day. I just sent out some CDs today to Georgetown, Texas. I got the order yesterday, and I sent them out this morning.
And what's cool about that, it's like you're the one that's actually mailing it. So the people out there listening, it's like you're not just getting these wonderful CDs. You're actually Kelly's the one that's selling them. I mean, sending them. sending them out to everybody.
It's all homegrown and organic. I conceive
just like with
the
Veronica
music.
doing.
I conceive the music.
Yep.
Veronica and I come up with the artwork. I physically put the CDs in packages. I address them, and I send them. And I think that that's the only way to really assure 100% quality control. If your hand is on all the aspects of the music, from creation to shipment, it's something that you oversee, every bit of it.
It's cool too, because it's like you really like, for you to, like, you start one day, you started working on this song, and say it is part of the 2% that makes it, and then eventually it grows and grows, and then you bring in other people to play on it, and then you record it, and then it gets on a CD, then the CD's pressed, and then you put it in the envelope and you mail it. I mean, you were there from the start to the end, and that's so cool.
That's exactly the way that I really like it. Now, maybe one day it will be to the point where I sell so many CDs that I can't do all that myself. But it hasn't come to that yet. There are people that order larger quantities of CDs. In fact, not too far from you, there's a lady in San Jose that buys them in bulk, and then she goes to record stores and stocks them. She's in San Jose, but she goes to, like, Pacifica, and she goes to Marin, and she goes to some of the places up there, and she actually goes to some of the little stores that stock my CDs as well. But she gets
really
a bulk
cool.
shipment. She
So
gets
if you're ever in
shipment.
Pacifica or anywhere like that, and you happen to see a Kelle Rhoads CD, you can thank this awesome person that lives in San Jose, not too far from me in Oakland, that graciously puts those out. So she's like your distributor almost.
Exactly. Yeah, her name is Lois, and she is like my distributor. Absolutely, that is what she is.
Now, I want to ask you something. When you did your album based on the Titanic, what led to that? That was always interested me about that album. Was what led to you making
That's a great question. First of all, it came out before the movie with Leo DiCaprio, so I wasn't doing it as a result of seeing the movie. Right. And the record, as well as the one after, Portraits of Oblivion, was recorded in the Beverly Hills Women's Club after hours. The custodian there was somebody that was a friend of the family and also studied at Musonia, and he had that job, so he was responsible. He was like the custodian / night watchman, and he said, would you like to record your CDs down there? They have a beautiful grand piano, they have a huge ballroom, and they have a PA. And to get the sound that we did, we ran the piano through the PA in an empty ballroom, and it gives a haunting, kind of a ghost-like sound.
Just like the Titanic, you think of a ballroom.
And I didn't choose the Titanic, it chose me. When I started composing that, I didn't know what it would be. Right. Okay? And after a while, it became clear that the piece of music was about the Titanic from start to finish, from construction to demise. And that's what it is. It's a 3-part, purely piano. That's all that's on there, just piano. Right. It's a 3-part piece that is the story of the inception, construction, voyage, and demise of the Titanic. And you can clearly hear those different phases of that ship's history delineated in the music.
I love that too,
and
it's like,
that was my very first CD that I made for public consumption. I made a CD before that. It's very rare. Like 9 or 10 people have it. It's only 8 minutes long. It's got 4 pieces of music, and that CD is called Piezas de Música, Pieces of Music. And, Piezas de Piano, Pieces of Piano. So they're like piano pieces, but it also could be construed that the piano's all smashed up, and they're pieces of the piano. So it's got kind of like a double meaning. But that was not made for sale. That was made just to simply see if I could do this, if I wanted to do it. Remember, I sang in rock bands for years and years and years. I didn't start really seriously playing the piano till I was in my 40s.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you would. Wait a minute. I thought you had studied early on, but I guess so
No.
You really. I didn't know. I just assumed that you went drums, vocals, and then piano in your 40s. That is so cool.
Didn't start seriously playing piano until into my 40s.
Wow, and
it was like a very late second instrument for me. Not something I played as a child at all. I didn't. I got into it later. The way that I got into it was I quit the music business out of exasperation. Sure, you've heard that before. And I got back into it after a while because I missed it so much. But when I got back into it, I said to myself, I'm going to get back into it and follow my passion and do piano music and classical music in particular.
Interesting. That's so cool. So wait a minute. Now this throws a whole other thing out there. First of all, it's very cool. It shows everyone out there, which I firmly believe, you're never too old to do anything in this life. You're given one life. Doesn't matter. There's no such thing as you're too old to do this. So congratulations and kudos to you, my friend, for that. Now, what made you go into class? Well, you're welcome. Well, what made you go into class? Always loved it.
Always loved it.
So the love was always there. The love was there for it.
Always loved it. And it was just a question of getting to the point where I said to myself, if I love this so much,
right,
then I should do it.
Right.
And the pieces were kind of simple at first. Then they grew. Then they got orchestrated. And then they turned into what you have now, which in some cases are pretty complex pieces. They're pretty involved.
I like it because it's like you can kind of hear your influences, but you like the piece you played for me last week. You said, what do you think of this piece? And you played it for me on the phone, which was a really cool moment for me. Thank you so much for being able to.
Oh, you're welcome.
I love that piece. It was so good. I loved that there was like two parts and the two different chord progressions were like, those are great chord progressions. But it's like, you can hear the classical, but there's a little bit of pop. There's a little bit of course you have hard rock roots, and you also have a lot of English roots with a lot of the bands you grew up with. But I love it because it's you. It's not you trying to be anything. It's just you being Kelle Rhoads, which is really cool.
That's exactly it. You hit the nail on the head right there. It's like classical music, but it's like abstract classical music.
Yes, like the art.
I mean, let's put it this way. First of all, look how many people in the world today play Beethoven. It's almost like how many guitar players play Crazy Train.
Exactly.
And I don't really know if we need another one. And in addition to that fact, I'm not so sure that I can contribute anything that would make the Beethoven that much better. But on my stuff, sky's the limit. I've got no boundaries. I can do whatever my imagination can come up with. I can do.
Now, where did you get some of the other titles like Pride and Profanity and Portraits of Oblivion? Where did those titles come from?
Well, I've been complimented on my titles. My producer says I have some of the most interesting titles he's ever heard.
Yeah, really cool.
And, I got to be honest with you, they just pop in my head, or I get them by association. I think of something like a word, and then I'll think of another word that goes real well with it. Let me give you a bit of an example on that. On Portraits of Oblivion, the last cut is called The Princess of Ibiza. And Ibiza is an imaginary country that I made up in my mind where people don't use money. When they do things, they give each other warmth. And the queen, or the princess rather, is a beautiful, beautiful woman up to her neck. And her head is the head of an ant.
Wow.
So the music for Princess of Ibiza is her grand march as she gets out of her carriage and walks down the red carpet, in her case, black carpet, and greets her subjects. And
so
the music,
cool.
the music is her music when she ascends her carriage and goes out amongst her subjects so they can worship her.
So what came first with that?
was just an imaginary country that I thought up. And instead of money, people give each other warmth. Like if you did a job for somebody, you would receive warmth, which means you have enough to eat, you're warm at night, you're happy, and the more you work and the more you do things, the more and comfort and validity you have in your life, instead of being based on a monetary system like ours is in the world that we live in today.
And you see how that works out. You see how happy.
And also, most of my music is based on a story or a concept. On the new record, I have a piece of music called Woman Without a Shadow. Well, as you listen to it, you come to realize the woman without a shadow, the reason she doesn't have a shadow is because she's a vampire.
Wow.
So at the end of it, she walks off into the distance, and you hear these church bells chiming as she's walking down a cobblestone street.
Wow. You should be a writer, Kelly. You got some great ideas in your head, not just with the music, but with the... You ever think of doing that? Like, it'd be cool if you could have like a little book. I know it would cost a lot, but it would be cool if you had just like a special limited edition, like a little booklet, like a little story and the music goes along with it. There's some great ideas.
I'm thinking of doing that. My fourth record's already recorded. I'm thinking of doing that for the fifth record.
You should, Kel.
I'm really thinking about it, and my producer suggested I do that too, because of the nature of my songs. They are all about stories. I have another piece of music, just to use an example, and then I think I've made my point. In Pride and Profanity, there's a small piece that fits like in a medley. It's not by itself. It's the middle section of a piece called Pieces of Jupiter. Pieces of Jupiter starts the tune and ends the tune. In the middle piece, you have Waltz of the Damned. Waltz of the Damned is the story about somebody getting to have one final dance with the person that they were once married to.
Aww.
But the trick is, the person they're dancing with is in the state that they exist in after death.
Oh, wow.
So you have like a really old man dancing with what used to be a woman, and now all she is bones.
Oh, wow.
And that's Waltz of the Damned. So there is a clear concept in most of the things that I write. They could be very well adapted into a story because they really kind of come from a story, but it's in my head. It's in my head. The story's in my head.
So you've not only got things going on with your fingers, with the keys, you've got things going on in the brain, too. So it's like all
right.
I love it.
Right. I wrote a modern dance, one of my favorite pieces. It's called Sixth Dance of Death, and it is about Day of the Dead. How much do you know about that?
Well, I know a lot of it because I live in the Latino district of Oakland, so it's like the...
So you know that that's a time when they can come back and they can enjoy what they used to like when they were here.
Absolutely.
And Sixth Dance of Death is a piece for modern dance. And it is the people that used to exist, actually in skeletal form, doing this dance. And the Sixth Dance of Death is the music that they dance to.
I love it. You have a great imagination, Kelly. It's so cool. And just hearing your excitement.
You.
Just hearing your excitement.
Thank you very much. I don't rule out the fact of maybe writing these stories down one day or coming up with some kind of a concept that utilizes them. I seem to be at no loss for material, but usually, actually better than usually, almost 99.9% of the time, the music has a story behind it.
I love it. And fans, you are more than welcome to write. I'm assuming here, of course, talking to you, I'm pretty sure this is a fair assumption. If you have a question about one of the songs on the albums, what his inspiration is, send Kelle a message on Facebook. I'm sure you would answer it.
Absolutely. I'll answer it. I might not get to it right away,
of course,
as I don't have enough time to go to my Facebook. Every single day. I did a concert out in Santa Ana, California, on Friday, and it was terrifically successful. And
how did that go, by the way?
It was just wonderful. But to give you an example of why I don't go to Facebook every day, I left Friday morning to go do the concert, and then on Saturday I was at NAMM. Sunday I kind of took my time going home. By the time I got home, between Thursday night and Monday, I had 754 Facebook requests.
Are you kidding me? That's awesome.
No, I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding.
The people saw at NAMM, whatever, and that's what I was hoping for. Oh, that's so exciting, Kelle. That means people were really like, doesn't that just make you so excited? It's like you went to NAMM, you played this keyboard part, you played these keyboard sections, and people responded to it, man. 750-plus Facebook requests? My God.
In 3 days.
In 3 days, Kelle. In 3 days.
Yeah.
You're on fire.
I also sang. I didn't just play keyboard. I did play keyboard. I played what I played for you.
I kind of
what did people think? They loved it. They loved it.
So good.
I kind of used you as a guinea pig, and you reacted favorably, so I played it out there. They loved it, and then I sang Back to the Coast and Killer Girls off of the Quiet Riot catalog.
Oh, that's so cool. Killer Girls is a great song. I love that song. I wish somebody would. I always feel that somebody should take that song, some band, and cover it. Like, it's such a killer. It's a pop song. It really is a great pop song. Someone should cover it. If you don't know it, go to YouTube, folks. Put in Quiet Riot, Killer Girls, and listen to it. It's a great song. Now, I wanted to ask you: have you ever thought about taking one of your songs from the Rhoads band into the future, or Cheap Talkin' Romance, and putting a classical spin, or is that just in the back burner? It's like time to move on.
No, I don't. I've never thought of doing that. However, this is pretty close. I wouldn't be opposed to taking a song from the Rhoads band and re-recording it, but recording it, now.
Yeah, now.
Current, those records came out in the 1980s,
right?
And I wouldn't be opposed to maybe taking a tune and doing a cover of my own tune.
That'd be so cool.
I would be amenable to that if the right circumstances existed.
Do you in touch with any of those guys from the Rhoads band still?
I am. I talk to the guitar player from time to time, John Gumby Goodwin, and I hadn't seen the drummer Nick Menza for 26 years, and of course
Nick Menza, we all know, went on to a lot of success with Megadeth. I mean, they were in the glory days of Megadeth when they were really, really popular in the late 80s, early 90s. What was working with him? What was working with him like? I mean, when you saw him go with Megadeth and become so successful, you were like, hey, that's Nick. Was it kind of like that?
Well, I knew that he joined that band. He was in that band for 9 years. And as I was saying, I lost touch with him.
Right.
And I was doing yard work here in front of the school, and one day he just walked down the street, and I hadn't seen him in 26 years.
Wow.
26 years. And he had shades on. He goes, do you know who I am? And I go, yeah. I go, you're Nick Menza.
So cool.
I had a lot of fun with him on the road. He was a great tour companion.
That's something I want to
That band to this day is the band that I spent the most time playing with, the most actual gigs, performances, concerts, television. In 1983, when I went up by your area, we were the support act for Foghat.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, because you told me that you had, because you said, what part of California? And I said, Oakland. You said, I have great stories opening up for Foghat. And I'm like, what? We're going to have to talk about that. So you brought it up yourself. Can you give the listeners and myself some great road stories, say that 5 times fast, touring with Foghat. And, of course, for people out there who don't know Foghat, just turn on classic rock radio and you'll hear Fool for the City or Slow Ride. Slow Ride, take it easy. That's Foghat.
Yeah, that's Foghat, and they were a great band. They were really
Absolutely.
big. And when I toured with them, everybody in the band was original, and they were all living, you know.
Yeah.
And it was really great. I can share a couple of stories that will really entertain you. One was this. I was just starting to do serious touring, and a lot of people knew that Randy's brother was in that band, but they didn't know what Randy's brother looked like.
Right.
They just knew he was in that band. So we would get to a city, say like Berkeley, stands out in my mind because of the reaction that we got doing this little trick that we used to do.
Oh, cool.
And we're setting up for sound check, and we're in Berkeley, and a kid comes up to me and says, "Hey man, I know that Randy Rhoads' brother's in this band. Can you tell me which one he is?" Well, clearly he didn't know it was me. So when that used to happen, I used to tell him that it was the bass player. Now, what makes that interesting is the bass player was black.
Oh, that's
and the expression on their
that's
faces
hilarious.
was priceless. Priceless.
That's hilarious. That is so hilarious. Because you know nobody wants to say, wow.
Another story, I mean, I got along with Darwin great. He was really great bass player, a good friend. I miss him, and I really hope that I get to see him again sometime. If he hears this, get in touch with me, Darwin.
Come on, Darwin. Come on. Kelle wants to talk to you.
Right. But anyway, he was down with this. He thought it was funny. He thought it was hysterical. So I would just say, yeah, man, Randy's brother's the bass player. Another story that I'll share is I had always wanted to play San Francisco my whole life as a musician. I had a bootleg recording of the Rolling Stones doing a concert up there, and I used to listen to it all the time. Mick Jagger makes reference to the fact that they are playing San Francisco, and that just was something that I looked forward to no end. And when we got up there and we opened up for Foghat, I just sucked. It was one of my worst shows ever.
What happened?
It just was terrible. A lot of things. But I think that probably, and this is a good lesson to learn, is I put too much emphasis on it. I made it so important that I jinxed myself.
Gotcha.
And so that was a real good lesson, that show. And I'll never, ever forget how dejected and upset I was after that show, after I'd looked forward literally my whole life as a musician to playing that show. And, of course, the guys in Foghat all consoled me, and they said, you're going to do so many shows in your life. Some are going to be good. Some are going to be great. A lot of them will be good. Don't worry about one show. It's nothing to get hung up over. And they were right. They were right.
How long did you tour with them for? How long was the tour for?
About a month.
Oh, that's cool.
I toured the western leg of it. When they were back east, there was another opening band. And then we went on almost the same tour as a headliner the next year. We covered the same venues and went back and played as a headliner instead of an opener.
Is this when they had that article in you guys had that article in Hit Parade, or was it around that same time?
No, the article in Hit Parade came out at a time when I was already out of the Rhoads band, and I had the Kelle Rhoads band in operation. And that's when they did the article in Hit Parader. And
that's right.
that was a fun band too. That was a real big band because there was 3 female backup singers in that band.
Right. That's
Figure a heavy metal band.
Yeah.
Figure a heavy metal hard rock band with 3 backup singers.
So
kind of a little different.
Well, Kelly, what we're learning from talking today, you've always kind of done things a little differently. Can we fairly say that, my friend? Always.
Always. I never started to ride a bicycle till I was about 8. I never started to drive a car till I was 25. And I'm seeing some significant and widespread success in the music business. Before it had been sporadic. And, of course, obviously, lived under a gigantic shadow, which is my little brother.
Yep.
But now I'm really seeing some solid success, and I'm really connecting with a lot of people. And I'm in my 60s.
You are?
So I'm 63.
You're in your 60s? Oh, my God.
63. Yeah.
God bless you. You don't look...
So I've done everything in my life much later than the typical person would do it. Everything later in life. I even got married later in life, although I was married briefly before.
Yeah.
Even that, I was older, but I didn't get married to the lady that I'm with right now till I was 43.
Oh, that's right, Veronica. Oh, wow, that's cool. So what we're learning, again, Kelle Rhoads is showing all of us, folks, is that there is no age limit. There's no ageism, whatever they call it, when people get treated differently because of their age, which I always find is BS. I don't want to swear.
No. If you want to do something bad enough, you'll do it. Now,
that's right.
Of course, there's physical limitations.
Of course.
If you're 90 years old and you suddenly decide you want to be a track star, well, you might be able to do it, but you're going to have a lot of limitations. But if you're in your 40s or your 50s and you decide that you want to play an instrument and you're ready to dedicate your life to that, by the time you're 60 or 62, you're going to be well along your way. And it's much better to do it that way than to be super talented as a child and then just get bored and then lose it.
No, you're a music guy for life, Kel. You're a music guy for life. It's not just that you're doing music. It's in your blood. You have to do it.
There was 2 times in my life that I made an escape from music, and both times I ended up coming back. I couldn't stay away.
No.
I did come back as a pianist the second time, and that's still music.
Right. I can't believe.
And I want to let your audience know, and I can't emphasize this enough.
Yeah.
The limitations that you are subjected to are, for the most part, the limitations that you put on yourself.
Absolutely.
If you want to do it that bad, don't think about it another minute. Start doing it. Don't do it next week. Don't do it in a month. Don't do it when it turns into the new year.
No.
Do it right now. Start
I love it.
right now.
I agree. And also, we can't tell people what to do, but it's one thing to try to think is that don't compare yourself to others. Well, I can't do this because it wouldn't be as good as the way that, who cares? Just do it your way.
Right.
Just like you're doing it.
Yeah, you can't make those limitations on yourself or you'll start creating boundaries. And then you'll be afraid to go out of those boundaries, and that's no good. The sky's the limit. And if you create your own music and your own style of music like I do, the sky isn't even the limit. The universe is the limit. In fact, a better way to say it is there is no limit. There is no limit. There isn't any.
We're only here once, my friend. Only here once. I know people hear that all the time, but it's the truth. It's the truth. If you want to do something, just do it and let other things fall into place. But if you want to do it yourself and whatever. Because one thing I know I don't like, people say, well, I don't want to do that because it will seem this way, it will seem this way. As long as you're not hurting somebody else, just do it.
Absolutely.
There's no.
Life is about 95% anticipation and 5% realization. Most of the things that we worry about, we didn't need to.
That's right.
Most of the things that we limit ourselves on, if you take away those limitations, you're going to be able to do it.
Absolutely.
Maybe not as good as you want to at first, but you keep doing it. Then you get better. And you will get better. The only thing you can't do is give up. The only thing you can't do is give up. And if you have to give up, just give up for a short period and then jump right back into the game.
Look at this. We're coming from a guy that started playing classical piano in his 40s, folks. Not as a teenager. No. This is a guy that started playing piano in his 40s. Now, if that isn't coming from a reliable source for all that we're saying right now, I don't know what is. God bless you.
Good message.
Yeah, this message
very
is
good,
you,
very, 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 very good message for the audience, and I hope they take it to heart. I'm not exaggerating the numbers. I was in my 40s when I started composing, studying, and producing classical music, principally for the pianoforte.
Now, we're going to do another probably a few minutes here, but I definitely want you back on Bob's Radio Cafeteria when those records come out so we can talk about them. And, of course, you have so many stories you told me on the phone, but we'll save that for the next time, talking about your time growing up on the Sunset Strip and all these wonderful stories. But let's save that for the next interview, if you don't mind, because that will be...
I don't mind at all, and I'll go one better. I'll give you an exclusive. When that record's artwork is done and it's ready to be shipped, I'll get in touch with you. I have your phone number, and I'll give you an exclusive.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Kelly. I appreciate it. All right.
Not a problem, and I must commend you for your enthusiasm as well. You know, a lot of times you hear the same questions over and over.
I know.
And it's like you can almost predict what people are going to ask you, and they ask you in kind of a dull, monotone voice, but you show a lot of enthusiasm in your voice, and that makes me enthused. It pumps me up.
Well, that's why my interview style is, and I interview a lot of people that are right under the radar or had some success and the success went down. But I interview them because I'm a music fan. I love it, and I'm excited. And the thing that I say to every interviewer I interview, and I say to you, and I've said to you before, and I'll say it to you right here so it's recorded, it means so much to me is that when I talk to somebody that to me is like a big deal and they're so cool and humble like yourself. And, you know, Kelly, I know you know this, but it goes so far. It really does go so far just to be cool. It's not hard to be cool, and you really are a cool dude, and I support you 100%, and you're always welcome here at Bob's Radio Cafeteria, and always welcome.
Well, I really appreciate it. Now, why do you call it Bob's Radio Cafeteria? How did you come up with that?
Wow, I'm getting the question. Okay, well, my name's Bob.
Yeah, now I'm going to interview you. Anyway, tell me, why is it Bob's Musical Cafeteria?
Because I always liked the word cafeteria. I love it. I always thought that'd be a good name for a band or something. I just love the idea of cafeteria. I love it because the word looks cool, and it's a cafeteria is a mix of everything. You can go there and have a hot dog. You can have salad. You can have fruit, whatever. So when I was coming up thinking of names, I thought, well, Bob's Radio Cafeteria. That worked. Now, I have another thing I do. It's just on YouTube. I do this thing every few months. I put out Bob's Video Cafeteria. And it's kind of like a montage of different little video clips I do, and it's fun. It's
nice.
Everything I like to do. I just like to do everything for free. I like to just put it out there. Like, you're just making no rules. There's no rules, Kelly. That's why I agree with what you're saying. I am right there with you, brother. I totally get it.
Well, what I like about the cafeteria aspect is that you serve yourself. And I think that that's a real important thing. You're spotlighting esoteric and individual musicians that are a little bit off the beaten track and that are at a certain point in their career, and you're allowing people access to them. So in a sense, you're allowing people to serve themselves to this, different and very interesting music.
Thank you. I mean, I appreciate that. I really appreciate it, and I also appreciate you, and I cannot wait for this new record to come out, and I'm so tickled I'll get the exclusive for it because, again, you're always welcome here at the cafeteria. It will
be. I will give you an exclusive, and I look very forward to being on the show again, and I would really I would love it. It would be great. It's been a really good experience.
Thank you, and it'll be another good experience when we dig into more of Kelly next time. Now, before we go, tell them where they can find you during the week, or they can find you on the web, because we also want to give exposure to the music school as well.
Okay, you can find me at Kelle Rhoads, my Facebook page, is Kelle Rhoads on Facebook, or Musonia on Facebook, or you can make an appointment by calling Musonia School of Music. We're listed. We're all over. And I require a week to 2 weeks lead time, and you can actually come tour of the school. You can also purchase CDs through the school, and I will reiterate that address one more time. It is Musonia School of Music, 12111, 12,111, Tiara, Tiara Street, Valley Village, 91607. And you don't even have to put my name on the envelope. Send the envelope, enclose your money. I'll pay for your shipping. All I want is $10 a CD or $30 for the whole set, and I'll pay your shipping in the continental United States. If people in foreign countries want it, there is a slight fee for mailing and shipping.
Yes, of course. But you have fans all over the world, so I'm sure.
I do, and my records sell all over the world. Absolutely. I've gotten beautiful comments from people that bought my record in Greece, in Portugal, in in Morocco, in Denmark, in Norway. I toured and did real well and sold a lot of CDs up in Newfoundland, Canada.
Oh, wow. How random. That's awesome. Newfoundland, Canada. Yay.
And I love that. I love that because it's like something that you wouldn't normally. You think of touring, you think of like Chicago and New Orleans and Cincinnati and Cleveland and New York and Paris and London. But when you go to a place like St. John's in Newfoundland, trust me, they really, really appreciate it, and they really show their appreciation.
So if you're ever if you have a band and you might make it big in Newfoundland, but it's one place, it's not bad. It doesn't matter. If you have one place, it's better than no places. So
that's exactly right.
There's a bunch of Rhoads records in Newfoundland right now. That's really cool to think.
That's right. There really is. I sold a lot. I sold a lot of them up there. I really did.
And remember,
I sold a lot of them in Ohio. I went to Ohio 3 or 4 times, played concerts, recorded, and sold quite a few CDs back there. And then somebody from a magazine back there did a big article on me, and that led to a lot of sales too. Now, when I say sales, I don't mean like rap music sells. No. Classical music does not sell in that category.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's something that one person buys it, they turn somebody else onto it, they buy it, on down the line. And it grows. It grows slow, but it grows. And remember, Robert, one thing that's real important here, I don't make music that has an expiration date on it. My music's timeless.
Exactly.
Classical music is timeless.
Exactly.
Right. It's not just about how it sounds in the first part of 2015 or how it sounded in 1997. It's timeless. It goes on.
It's just like the Beatles music. It's timeless. It doesn't matter when you hear it.
The Beatles music's always going to be good. People are always going to love it because it's so good, and it was done so well.
And remember, if you're in the Hollywood area and you go to Amoeba, the third Amoeba, because the very first one was in Berkeley, the second one in San Francisco, the third one in Hollywood, I think it was opened up 10 years ago.
Absolutely
Kelly's albums are in there under classical section. And remember, it's Rhoads, because you know my mother's maiden name is God bless her soul, is Rhoads, this spelling like yours, and all of us Rhoads that have this spelling get mad when people spell it R-H-O-D-E-S. It's R-H-O-A-D-S. Get it right. Get it right.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. We discussed that the other day, and it's really true. Some people just can't quite wrap their heads around that. There's no E. It's R-H-O-A-D-S.
That's right. Well, Kelle, thank you so much for being on Bob's Radio Cafeteria. Again, you can find me, facebook.com/Bob's Radio Cafeteria. I will have the link for this interview tomorrow. I'll have a nice little, also a nice clip that goes with it with pictures of Kelle, and you'll see all different eras of Kelle, and it'll be really nice, and I'll send it, of course, to you, my friend. And be looking out for Kelle in the next few months. He's got a new album coming out very soon, and the title of that album again is?
Magnificent Obsession.
Great title. Kelle, thank you so much.
And thank you. It was an honor and a pleasure to be on your show tonight. And I look forward to making a return visit.
Thank you, Kelle. This is Bob's Radio Cafeteria.
All right. Good night.